All right, and we are recording. So good afternoon, everyone. This is the Robert Down Site Council meeting for February 2023. And present, we have Eric Bell, who's our secretary. Tally Helfont. Tally, your position is the co-chairperson, correct? Oh, she ran away.
Heloisa is co-chair.
Okay.
Patty.
And co-chair Patty Bloomer is present, and I'm Sean Keller, the principal of Robert Down. And Tally might be able to come back. Hopefully she can. There she is. All right. So I turn it over to you, Madam Chairperson.
Sorry about that. I just fell off and I got back on, but no, I'm not the co-chair. I'm just a participant.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so are we going to take a minute to look at the previous minutes and see if everything looks correct and right? Let me check it. Are you projecting those, Sean?
I can.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I was trying to click on the link, but it was looking strange to me.
It's embedded. So if you just hover over.
Oh, I see. There we go. Okay. Oh. Oh, yeah, there we go. I see. That's better. Multicultural. Is that March 10th date, the date that each grade level has to pick on the continent, or that's multicultural night is March 10th?
Yeah, again, I don't know. We were going to talk more about it tonight or today. And unfortunately, Heloisa is not here.
Okay.
So we'll have to find a time for the next meeting when she can make it. And I think the next meeting is after that date. So I don't know if that's going to occur right now. We'll talk more about it when we get there on the agenda, but I have an idea for everyone.
All right. Well, is there a motion to approve the minutes from January 23rd?
Motion.
Anyone to second? Thank you, Eric. There's no discussion. And so those minutes are approved. And is there any comments from the public? There's no one public here. So I guess no comments. That would move us down to discussion item number 5, the PTA events needing help and support.
Yeah, I know Chelsea usually speaks on that. She didn't get back to whether or not she could make it today, but I'll just share that they have, trying to think, they have the 5th grade camp out, which they are planning to have. They don't have a date set for that yet. And I've asked that PTA help with a field day. I believe the date is May 19th. It's a Friday. And I've brought it up to PTA. Haven't had any, verbal commitments of anyone to be able to take that over. But I just want, people to know that that's an event we'd like to have. And I think that they're finding other volunteers for other events that they're planning out. I know they're planning to have a STEM night in April. And oh gosh, I'd have to, let me see if I put that in my calendar.
Is there somebody typing the meeting notes in right now, or do we need somebody to do that?
Eric, is it possible? I think I gave you editing rights to just type.
Yeah, I'm typing on my end.
Okay, thank you.
Because you can do it just in this Google Doc too. All right, STEM night is April 21st.
April
So
20.
April 21st is probably the next big planned event that PTA has discussed. It's a STEM night plus a silent auction.
Oh, nice.
So they'll probably need some support with items for the silent auction. And I know each classroom is planning to create a classroom basket or.
Isn't that already happening right now for the PG Pride auction?
is.
I think they want to do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yes, usually a grade level from each school does something for PG Pride too. But this is a separate event.
When is that PG Pride auction thing? Are they both happening in April? So we're looking to put together two separate auction items per grade class?
The PG Pride event is March 19th, and that's called The Great Taste of PG. And that will be at, I believe, Spanish Bay.
Yeah. All right. So the current basket information that's coming out right now for donations is for the PG Pride event. There hasn't been any information to go out yet for this next auction item for the PTA
No,
piece. Okay.
yeah. And I think, again, for anyone watching the video, you can just contact myself or the front office and we can get you connected with the PTA.
Okay. How has volunteers and support outside of all the hardworking people that are part of PTA, are they having luck getting families to donate their time for some of these events? Or is there still a need for parents out there to come volunteer some time for these events?
I think there's always a need for people to come help. The last event we had was the bingo night, but I can just say it wasn't as successful as past bingo nights in the sense that we had it during an off time.
Mhm.
Usually our bingo night occurs in fall. And I don't think we had a fall bingo night this year. So I think they were trying to make up for that. And then the one that we've held in the spring in the past was connected to the silent auction. So I just think they were trying to do something different with the silent auction to bring people there for the STEM event, the STEM night.
That's too bad. I have been to the bingo nights and those have been very nice, nice turnout. So
Yeah, it definitely was a smaller turnout than in the past. It was fun.
all right. Is that all that we have for PTA events? Any other comments or questions?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. So that brings us down to number 6, the multicultural night.
Yeah, and again, without Eloisa here, I have not been a part of any of the meetings they've had. So unless we have somebody here to talk about it, I think we'll just have to table that one for next time.
Okay, let's do that. And next time, when is our next meeting? Is that lower in the notes? I'm just wondering, our next meeting is March 20th. All right, so we'll table that for March 20th meeting to talk about. And you're right, it's after that after the date that they had planned. All right, well, moving down to number 6, the MAP assessment results and comparing the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. How did that go?
Yeah, so again, these are available to anyone who clicks on the link. And I wanted to share our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. These take quite a while to put together, but this is a cohort. So these are the true scores of that grade level for the last year and a half. And you can see that last year with the class of 2025, who's our current 3rd graders, You obviously want to see kids in the green or the blue. And why we're covering this in site council is we have the goal of trying to show that we're helping kids throughout the year and that they're getting proper interventions, whether it be within the classroom or with Heathers and Guzzi and our intervention team. So you can see that since last year, again, you want to keep kids out of the red or the orange. And you can see that at the beginning of last year, we had 13 kids in the red and orange. And we had, that was the beginning, we had 2 kids move out of that zone and go to higher levels by the winter. And then by the spring, we had quite a few move out of those zones. We had 8 students out of the original 13 move out of those zones.
Nice.
So that's pretty good from last year. So good job, second grade team. And this is math scores I'm talking about right now on that first page. And then for this year, for the same group of kids, you can see that we started off the year with 13 students in the red and the orange. And that by this last time, you can kind of see just by the color coding at the very bottom left, you can see that the blue got bigger, sorry. The green got bigger and the orange and red and yellow kind of shrunk. And that's exactly what you want to see throughout the year. So you can see that for the winter time in the math for third grade, we have, let's see, 77% of our students are at high, average, or high. And even the students that are in the yellow or average range, why I'm not counting them is that we're not sure exactly if they're on the cusp of that 41st percentile. Where we like to see every student is the 50th percentile or higher, because you're looking at the bell curve when you use the map. So looking pretty good. We're probably from the average moving up to the high average. The high scores. We're looking at, close to 80% of students right now scoring very, very well.
Sean, have these scores been made available in the parent view app this year like they were last year?
I would have to ask a parent to show me what they can see. I would assume yes, because that's the goal. But this is the first time they've been discussed publicly at all. I haven't even shared these with staff yet. So I'll be sharing these with the leadership group and then the staff later this month.
Is there going to be a look at how these scores compare to before COVID? I mean, did we find that we had more kids in like the red and orange zone coming out of COVID, or are they kind of around the same averages?
Well, we didn't start doing the math until after COVID.
Okay.
We started doing the math once we returned to school in the spring of 2021. So I could go back and, I like to look at a group of kids, the same kids. The way that the district usually looks at it and the way the state looks at it is they present just the grade levels. But I like to look at the groups that we have, and there's changes. We have kids moving in and out, but I think the core group of students in that class remain for the most part. And so I think that, is a better indicator of how a group is coming through.
Definitely.
So the next one to look at is third grade. And you can see in the fall of 2021, our second graders of the class of 2025 had 12 students in the red and the orange. And that increased just a little bit to 14 by the winter time. But then you can see a major change where it goes down to only 6 students in the red and the orange by the end of the year.
You said look at second grade, but you meant third grade, right?
No, we're looking at this year's third graders, last year's scores.
Okay, I
What I
see.
have on the screen right now, this is their second grade scores,
I see. Okay.
okay?
I
So
was,
now
yeah,
we're going into third grade. This is for reading.
yeah.
So again, we ended up with 6 students in the red and the orange, kind of the warning zone. Starting with the fall, again, you have a lot of times they talk about the summer slide. We had 14 kids.
I
So we
see.
added 2 more kids to the red and the orange. And midway through the year, we went from 14 and now we're down to 9. So again,
Wow,
this is
that
what you
looks
want to
great.
see. You want to see that there's less and less kids and that they're getting interventions and they're sliding up into the yellow. And sometimes they jump a whole bunch and go into the green and possibly the blue. Okay, so that's our third grade results. Let me look at our fourth grade. So now you kind of understand what we're looking at. So I'm gonna go a little faster if that's okay. So these are current fourth graders, and here's their scores for last year with math. And you can see that during the winter time, it went down to 5 students in the lower areas. And unfortunately, by the end of the year, that increased from 5 up to 8. So we had 3 more students creep down into that zone. But still pretty darn good.
Nice.
So now this is our current, this is our current fourth grade for math. And we started off with 13 students in the lower areas. And that decreased just a few to 12. Sorry, 11. 11 students. And you can see that the blue increased from 40 to 42 and the high average from 24 to 27. But the average, so again, some kids moved out of the average range in the yellow, more than likely up to the green this last winter. So in math for our fourth graders right now, we're looking at 69%, probably a little bit more. And when you add the kids that are above 50 percentile in that yellow range, we just don't have that breakdown. I could figure it out, but I didn't figure it out for today's meeting. And looking at the reading scores, last year in third grade, we had 15 kids in the lower ranges. That dropped down to 9 by the winter, and that dropped down to 8 by the end of the year last year. And looking at this year's reading scores, started off with 9 in the lower area, and now that's gone down to 8. And overall right now for reading, at this point, looks like we have 72, probably maybe mid 70s when you add the kids over the 50th percentile where we want to see them at in reading. Okay, and for fifth grade. So looking at their fourth grade scores, we had 15 kids in the lower area beginning last year in the fall. Went from 15 to 11, and from 11 down to 7.
Nice.
And this year, looks like that count went up quite a bit,
19.
went up to 19 kids. And it's now gone down from 19 to 14. And that's for math. So for math right now, at the fifth grade level, we have little over 55, probably between 55 to 60% of kids that are above the 50th percentile in math. Going on to reading, last year, when they were in fourth grade, you can see we had 0 kids in the lowest area at the beginning of the year. And we had 7 in the orange. There was 1 student that was added to that group mid-year, but by the end, that dropped down to 4. And for reading for this year, started off with 9 students in the lower areas. And it looks like, unfortunately, that is increased to 13. So we'll see how they end up with the spring. For right now, for reading at the 5th grade level, it looks like we have 71%. So it's probably kind of lower 70s, maybe mid 70s. When you look at those 7 students, we have to analyze how many of those 7 students are above the 50th percentile. Are there any questions about those scores?
Not for me. I think the data looks great.
Again, these are accessible. Again, we want to look at these throughout the year and to see how kids are doing. You know, making sure, just like Mr. Rogeman will probably give a different kind of presentation to the board. He'll do basically both elementary schools combined. But I want to say he did split them up and showed the differences between the schools during his last presentation to the board. And that's all I got for that.
Are there any questions or comments from the public? Alrighty. That brings us to number 7, looking at our Healthy Kids Student Survey. And there's also a link there.
So again, I would really like to have more site council members for us to look at this. Because again, we really try to look at these survey results to talk about goals for next year. But I will go ahead and go down. I really haven't gone over these myself too much. But I know that this group has always been interested on how kids are responding to bullying. I was a little disappointed in how many students participated. Again, it was a goal to try to get more kids to participate. And unfortunately, only 69% or 52 kids out of the entire 5th grade class took this survey. So that's, again, it's a little bit under what we've been getting. We've been getting lower 70% the last few years.
Is
So
this
again,
not a survey that we can have them do in class or like during their
do it.
computer lab time?
they do it in class, but the parents have to give permission.
Oh, I
If they
see.
don't provide permission, they can't participate.
That's too bad.
Yeah. So when you look at these percents down here, these are only the percents that are for the highest answer. So more than likely, or whatever the question might be. They're not connecting the absolutely and the maybe answers.
What does meaningful participation mean?
We can look at the questions, but I think it's, do you feel like you're participating in activities at school and in the classroom? So, but again, this is 46 of the kids who answered the highest level. So I want to say there's 4 questions. It's never, not likely, highly likely, or likely and highly likely. Something around it's not the exact answer, but it's that 4 on the Likert scale. But these are also down below. They just kind of give you an overview and then they have you look at it. That table will be A6.3 down below.
Last year we talked about, like, we were trying to think about why people weren't maybe giving permission to their kids to participate. And then we thought maybe it was like information overload and just kind of with COVID leftover and how many different types of messages people were getting.
Yeah.
And then we talked about maybe like just explaining sort of what it is, but we tried that this year. I'm not quite sure if there's perhaps like a connotation that we're not aware of or concern among parents, or parents aren't seeing it, because obviously if it just takes a parent saying like, yeah, I'm fine with my child filling this out, or I'd like you to have this data, you would think, we'd have a lot of people sign up and say yes, but
Yeah.
but again, maybe there's some aspect we don't know about.
Yeah, I know that there was some talk at the board meeting about some of the questions. And I know I felt like I was as transparent as possible. I gave a copy in a principal update of the questions. And maybe some parents saw those and thought they didn't want their kids answering them. And that's okay. Again, that's why it's parental choice with this particular survey. And we want to make sure the parents feel okay about that.
How is permission given? Is it like a note that goes home that they sign?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a sign up sheet.
okay.
Yeah.
to get
I
Permission.
got a hard copy and I also sent it through the principal's update.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
don't know,
think we
maybe-
talked about.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I think we talked about last year, let's add hard copy in case maybe people were, whether it was like non-native English or other things that might create the digital avenue make it less appealing. And so we thought, oh, okay, if we send like, a sheet home, that might help. But I do think now, Sean, that you say that, I do remember that there was debate about like kind of the phrasing of certain things. And I think a little bit of a question of like, so what's done? Like you get the answers and then what? Like who's doing what with it? And a little bit of confusion around that.
Yeah. And it's just like what this group talked about before, about just trying to share what site council does. And they really, they being people who question the whole process. It's for us, if you're watching this video for any reason, it's for us to help make better decisions for your school. And if we don't have the feedback, we can't make decisions either way. And so this is your vote. This is the vote, right?
Yeah.
It's having kids participate in the democratic process of sharing their ideas, and this is just one factor that we take in.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking maybe that just needs to be made clear that it's just not another survey, time wasting wanting your opinion, but it's actually to benefit the school, the students.
Maybe next year's permission slip, can have some spot for a comment that like, what is the reason why you said no? Is it their concern of the question so that we can make improvements? Because the responses to the no will add to the way we move forward and how we improve the outcome of these surveys and stuff too.
Yeah.
Maybe parents would feel comfortable with commenting why they
The
chose no.
the permission slip comes from West Ed. So we really can't manipulate that.
Oh, I see.
But I can try something to see if there's a little space, empty space in there to add something.
I guess the thing would be is that if you don't get a proper sampling from among the student body, it's almost not worth doing it because you can't necessarily action the data that you get from it. So, you want to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, and we want to be able to get a reasonable sampling so that when certain issues are flagged, especially ones that are of concern, we really know how pervasive those issues are.
Yeah.
Agree.
So again, a lot of things about some things they don't answer here. But Eric, you had asked about specific, I think it was A6.
Meaningful participation.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. But again, these are all the, trying to see about what.
A
Yeah,
6.3.
yes, most of the time, yes, all the time. So it's most of the time or all the time, or to that, for, depending on the question, that's the top two, and that's the good stuff. But no, yes, most of the times are up above, if that makes sense. It's only yes all the time, based on the question. So if you go down here, there are, the questions are embedded in here. You just have to really find them. And I just really wanted to present it this time, and then really have, have us take the time offline to really look at it, and then have us come back next time. That was my intent for today. Just kind of present it and right, but I want to get to that one that Eric was asking about. If I'm going too fast, let me know and I'll go back if you wanted to look at something. Here we go. So here's all the different participation questions. Are you given a chance to help decide school activities? And again, they're only counting these two. Do the teachers and other grown-ups at school ask you about your ideas? Do the teachers and other grown-ups give you a chance to solve school problems? And do you get to do interesting activities when you participate in school? And I think if we were to give this survey at this point in time, we have totally upticked our participation in the playground captains, AKA Blue Jackets. And we're also did a slow start with garden rangers. And we have, we've had a core group of girls in both the 5th, 4th, and 3rd grades participating in that program. But we have a meeting tomorrow, and hopefully the rain won't mess that up. But I have another classroom that we're going to meet in. So these are all the different questions, Eric, for about participation. There's a whole bunch of them.
What page is that on?
This was page, I believe, 14.
29
29.
On the PDF, yeah, but
on the PDF. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
Let's see.
okay. So again, I just wanted to give this to you guys, give you access to it. Is there anything specific you want me to look at this round from last year that you were concerned about?
No, I think I'd like some time, on my own to look at the percentages that I was kind of noticing and going back and looking at those questions and, are the questions really something that are ask what we really want to know, now that we see the percentage and stuff. Some of it, it's great, that they feel academic motivation and that the high expectations, they feel like they're being held to a standard and being motivated. It's great to see, the feeling safe at school. I would say, okay, 80%, that's good, but I would, I just kind of concerned about why isn't that just a little higher, and what were those questions about feeling safe at school? The A 9.1.
I think it's right here. Do you feel safe at school?
And
That's the question right there.
That's
Yeah.
And it was just
They don't talk about other different
Yeah.
factors or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
This is about halfway through. Again, I just wanted to make sure everyone had access to it
Mhm.
and introduced it. And if you could please take a look at it for next time, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so next up, is
Yeah,
our
is the site budget and
Budget, yeah.
purchases.
Yeah. So this is our largest portion of our budget. And that's our materials and supplies. So, oh, this is incorrect, and I'm sorry. I'll have to fix this. This is a 3 right here. Hold on. There we go. Fixed. So it was adopted at 3620. And how we project that is based on our enrollment. And why it went down is in October, our numbers of students actually went really low. Around that time, we got close to the low 400s. And the most of the years I've been here, we've been in the 420s, 430s. The very first year I was here, we were in the 460s. So obviously COVID has made it really rough for people. People have moved away. The expensive PG, the lack of leases and rentals in the area has affected a lot of families, and our numbers have gone down. So with that, so is our budget. But this final budget, unfortunately, is always based in October. The first Tuesday in October is when the state, what's called seabeds, extracts all the information in our Synergy system and uploads it into the state system, seabeds. And that's when all the district sites have a final budget provided to them for the year. And unfortunately, we're about probably 20 to maybe 40 more students than at that time. All right, good. This is all together now. So you can see we have a little, we have a little over 4,600 left in our materials and supplies. What this mostly is again, strictly to the classrooms. And that's why it's the largest budget. I asked people to spend it. If I give them any money, I gave them about 200 this year. When I first started, I was giving them about 400, and it just was too much. But whatever grade levels tell me at the beginning of the year, whatever they need, we get it. So the 200 is on top of that. Like somebody wants to get a special chair, or just something special for them in the classroom as a teacher. And this year we had a little over $9,000 spent on paper, because the cost of paper doubled this last year. The good news is I got a little misery with the paper this year. And as Patty knows, I had people start to put in codes, and the use of paper has gone down considerably because of that. So the good news is I think we'll have a pallet or a pallet and a half left over for next year, and we won't have to buy as much going into next year. So I think we've attacked that concern about why we had so many copies being made on our copier. And that's another thing that goes into this budget, is we have to pay for the copier upkeep on our site. So travel and conference, we put 5,000 aside. We've had a couple of people go. Unfortunately, their reimbursements haven't been all put. We have about 1,800 in encumbrances right now that need to be reimbursed to people. But we had a plan to take a bunch of kindergarten teachers from both Robertstown and Forest Grove to a kindergarten conference in San Jose, but it was occurring during those storms. So unfortunately, it was the weekend that they said Highway 1 might be closed off, and we'd be an island here in PG and Monterey and Seaside and Marina and Carmel and Big Sur. And so people just thought, you know what, if I can't get there and if I can't get back home, there's no use in me going. So everyone canceled going, representing our district. So if nobody goes to any more conferences this year, then all that money that's left over, the 3,100, will get absorbed into the materials and supplies toward the end of the year. For rentals and leases, this has to do with our water supply for the kids in the cafeteria and also for our staff lounge. So we had a contract with a water company that comes in and works with that system every 3 years. For the contracts, these were the presenters that came in this year, and other contracts we have as well with groups that come in and support us. So we have a contract with a company that helps us with our laminator, and we have a contract. This year we had the speaker, the gentleman who did the food allergies, and also the anti-bullying speaker. So that budget went up considerably for this year because we've never had speakers like that in the past, in the years that I've been here. So we started off with 6,000, but we upped it to 7 because of the need for the money. Because you can see we only have $25 left in that account. For communications, this is basically for sending mail out to families. There are legal requirements for us when we have truancies and what have you, and also sending things home. So right now we have about $120. We may have to borrow some money from another account to cover for anything we need to send later. And if you were not aware, the district has finally approved our garden coordinator stipend. So we had planned to pay Carrie $6,000 this year. And HR came in and said, Sean, you can't just have that arbitrary number, even though your site council approved it. It has to be approved through the stipends that are provided through the district. And this is the money that we as a site council agreed upon for Carrie because she's been here for multiple years. And they still yet have to put out a flyer for a new position, which again was approved by the board in January. So I'm waiting for them to fly that so we can try to hire somebody. The good news about this is there's hope that the district may cover this cost for next year. What that will mean is that we won't have to pay the $5,400. It actually will be a little bit lower than that because it'll be somebody new. And if you remember, we agreed to a stipend that works its way up over a 3-year period. And I honestly forget what the original price was, but it was in the high 4,000s. And the third year is the $5,488. So hopefully we won't have to spend that out of our budget, and that money will go back into materials and supplies or to speakers or whatever we want to do for next year. So are there any questions about our budget update for this year so far?
Not for me.
So you said the travel and conference budget, the 3,100, that would be rolled into materials and supplies if it's not used. Is that correct?
Correct. So
And that's for next year.
no. So this is use it or lose it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So the district with our site funds, unlike donations and walk funds for PG Pride, those roll over. This is strictly for site funds. And the district will come in April, about mid-April, and they will sweep the funds if we don't spend them. So people need to get the reimbursements in. They need to tell me what they want. And to be honest with you, it's taken quite a bit to change the way people viewed the site budget, because before I got here, I think how a lot of teachers viewed this is, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff in the spring, so it will be here when school starts in the fall. And I said, no, guys, that's not how a budget works. For that current year, you know, let's say Julie and Joe Smith come and live in PG for that year, and they pay their taxes, whether it's through rent or whether they're paying for a mortgage, and then they move, right? And their kids go to this school. That money needs to be spent on their kids that year. So you really should spend your money by December at the latest. And I've had to really talk to people about that the current budget is for that particular year. And that anything you want to get for the following year, you have to order in July for the following year, not in the spring. So that took a while to get people used to. And for this year, we were really lucky in that I did not have to dip into these site funds at all to buy brand new cabinets, which have gone into the cafeteria and in our hallway outside of Miss Brockmeyer's room. And I'm planning to buy just a few more because storage is a huge area of need here on campus. So I'm figuring that if we have a couple grand left over and people don't need anything specific for the end of the year, that it'll go towards some more cabinets or some other things. We also need some more recess and recess playground balls and just different things that they've kind of gotten flattened and lost, and we need to get things that for kids to play with.
Yeah, storage is a problem in all of PG.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised at the catacombs. I don't know if I've ever taken you on a tour, Eric, but there's a lot of storage underneath this building.
I bet there is. Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
square
it's crazy.
footage.
It's really crazy.
How many spiders are in there?
We don't use the S word around here. I'm sure there's a lot. It's our other four-legged friends with the little tails that we're trying to deal with.
Yeah, those are worse.
They keep coming around, especially when it rains.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there any other comments or questions about the budgets and purchases? If not, is there any other action items? None. And the future agenda items, we said the Healthy Kids Survey, we'll come back to that again, as well as the multicultural night. Will both be talked about again at our next meeting on March 20th at 3:30.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, after looking at the surveys, start to make a plan, because we really will have March and April to really dig deep and talk about a plan for next year. And if there's any speakers, this is, you know, around this time last year, we looked at the results of the survey and we started talking about, hey, we want to get a speaker for anti-bullying. And if that's something you want to continue, I don't know how you felt about the speaker who came in for anti-bullying. I think I'd like to look at another one and maybe a different way of addressing the kids. Because that seems to always be an issue, you know, with kids getting along on the playground. One thing that Forest Grove did this year was they're working with a consultant about playground play. And I want to say it's called Playworks. And we purchased Art in Action and the Scholastic Rising Voices series to put into classrooms to represent more minority characters and authors. Whereas Forest Grove decided to use monies toward Playworks. That's something that we may want to do. When they come to Forest Grove to work with them this year, I'm going to go over there to see what they offer. And if we feel like paying them as a contract and as a consultant, if that's something we want to do at our school, then by all means, it's going to be a lot, but it's something we may want to consider based on the results of what the kids are saying. And then the other thing too, to get more information from kids, is I will have kids provide advisory to me. So instead of a student government at Robert Down, I invite kids to come in and give me their advice about the plan, the SIPSA, and what they'd like to see happen at Robert Down. So I'll be meeting with some of those groups and giving you the feedback, and maybe even inviting some of those kids to come to our meeting so they can give us their 2 cents about plans. Yeah, and just kind of a sign off, I'll just share that Mr. Anderson, our maintenance director, shared that our playground, our blacktop, will get a new covering. So that will happen during the summer. At least that's the plan for right now. So that's something for us to think about. I've already let Ms. Tobin and Mr. D know. And with that done, we'll probably need to repaint and probably get some parent volunteers and repaint the playground at that time. And so it'll be a nice bright playground. But we may want to switch some things up and have some changes made. There may be some games that we don't have on the playground that kids want to do, and we have a whole bunch of hopscotches that a lot of kids don't use, so we may want to utilize that area for a different use. So
Foursquare, they all want to play Foursquare.
I know they absolutely love Foursquare. So yeah, and on that note too, I don't know if you've seen the blacktop, but a lot of the rainwater has come on and a lot of sand and dirt and stuff. So the plan with this, what do you call it, slurry something, with that being redone, I've asked for them to build a little curb. So when the water comes off the field, it'll be caught by the curb and be taken to the drain on the blacktop instead of covering.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there was a pond on the field and then it hits that retaining wall and then just seeps through, and that lasts for like weeks.
Yeah, so we're hoping to relieve that, whatever the word is, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, so are there any other things to talk about next time?
Did you say Playworks? That was something you wanted to add there, checking out Playworks, or?
Yeah. I'll ask Forest Grove if they're coming from now until then. But I know they were supposed to come pretty soon.
The Healthy Kids Survey is already there on the agenda item.
Okay.
Is there any other comments or question for the future agenda? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
Motion. Thank you. I
I
second.
Okay, I'll second.
All righty. And we'll see you all on March 20th, 3:30.
All right, thank you, Patty. Thank you
Thank you.
everyone for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.